Alrighty, welcome to an on the road episode 153 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. Perth has received a record shipment of 749 Teslas comprising a mixture of Model 3 and Model Y variants. Shortly after it was tweeted out, the Tokwa Twitter post received in excess of 500,000 page views. Tesla is introducing Apple shortcuts to its iOS app, including climate controls, entertainment, and many more. And that was this week's news. There was a lot of actual other news as well, but oh man, I've just been too busy. So apologies for that. And we're going to discuss that news shortly anyway. But in the meantime, if there is anyone who is new and would like to introduce themselves, please do so in the next few seconds.
Can I start? Sorry.
Yes,
I
Tommy,
am
go. Welcome.
yeah. Sorry, I'm sitting in somewhere like ordering my food. So my name is Tommy, and then sorry, can you see me? Yep.
Yes, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, gotcha.
Okay. So yeah, I recently ordered a Model Y and then it came with the Quesadilla. So I joined the club like not too long ago, and then I thought I'll sit down and see what people look like. And then also I would like to get some idea about two things currently that it's on my mind about. One of them is the what is that? The script and car and tinting, and then the other one is a home automation. So yeah, I'll ask later on.
Absolutely. Yep, yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right, welcome, Tommy. And is there anyone else that would like to say hello after you unmute?
Oh. So yes, so it's Morgan here. I recently received a Tesla Model Y. It's about 2 months ago now. I've kind of been lurking in the background because I've been working on site, so connection wasn't too great on site. So now I'm back in Perth. I thought I'd join, introduce myself. Um, yeah, so far it's been so good. I reached out for a lot of people for some tips, but I do have some questions around tracking energy usage for tax purposes, that sort of thing, and just general apps that people find friendly and useful.
Actually, just remind me, Tommy, just remind me of the term 4 cents. So I'll get back to that when you re-ask that question a little bit later on. Alrighty, and we'll just try and go for a trifecta, but we'll probably get three strikes and out. Anyone else that would like to say hello? In fact, I'm going to reintroduce Chuck because Chuck is about half an hour ahead of me and 2 hours ahead of most of you. So welcome back, Chuck.
Thank you. I haven't been anywhere, but that's okay.
That's right. That's right. Somehow I feel closer to you, Chuck. I don't know why. Um,
Stop it, you two.
Actually, speaking of which, if you wonder where I was, I don't know if it's going to work. Are you going to see an image of me? I'm not sure. Is that working?
No. Yeah, there you go. It is.
Okay,
Yep.
there I go.
Yep.
Great. So that was me in my awesome car being driven by, whoops, my awesome wife and using this thing up the top to the left of my head is a Starlink strapped to the glass roof. And I've got to say that that is the only way I could have put this show together this afternoon. And that's with Starlink at 200 megabits per second at 100, I think it was 100 k's down the road. Because South Australia, you've got to go a bit slower. But it's all good. Alrighty, let's go straight to questions. Actually, Tommy, you had no, sorry, not Tommy. You,
Yeah, he was
your
first.
It was Macintosh Junior, but it's not your name. Sorry.
It's Morgan.
Morgan. Thank you, Morgan. I haven't got a little notebook to write down aliases. Morgan, so you asked about the tech, power costs as far as tax things are concerned. I
Yes.
believe for things like leasing now, the federal government has actually released a standard electricity or charging rate, which is 4 cents per kilometre. So that's particularly for home use. If you get reimbursed for charge you've put in your car while you're using your car for company purposes or for leasing purposes, that rate is 4 cents per kilometre. So I don't know if that's actually answering your question, or maybe you want to repose the question.
Yeah, that's great. So I have actually seen that, but it looks like it's in draft format still. So I'm not sure if that's changed as of, say, the last couple of days or so. I know some people have been using certain applications. Hezi gets thrown around a bit, and also using the in-car kind of screen charging details or the app combined with the bill. So I'm just wondering if anyone else on the call has done something like that, perhaps while this sort of legislation is still in draft and hasn't been released yet.
Yeah, I use Tessie. I did use Tesla Scope before, and both of them will work fine. I mainly use Tessie now because its reporting is a bit nicer in terms of gathering a good chunk of information that hopefully once they decide what they want to decide is the thing, then it'll probably be more useful. So I can probably bring it up. Anyway, per drive, it records kilowatt hour use and distance and your actual track and everything. It's pretty good.
Okay.
So I kind of landed on Tessie. Tesla Scope is cheaper and a bit more web-based and a bit simpler. Tessie is more expensive, but it also comes with an app which handily works on the Apple Watch as well. So there's some other advantages you get with that. But yeah, they both work pretty well.
Awesome. Thanks for that. I had another question, if that's okay.
Yeah,
go.
Kind of topic. So my obviously in WA we're a bit restricted with which power companies we can go with. So with Synergy, I was on the A1 home plan, and I had a bit of a bill shock when I got my first bill after getting the Tesla. And some people recommend going on either kind of a stepped rate. Other people don't. They recommend sticking with the 28 or 31 cents per kilowatt that we pay on the A1 plan. Just any recommendations, with your experience on which plan to go for?
So just the first comment on your bill shock. I mean, yes, you would have had an electricity bill shock, but what you would have lacked is the constant shock of every week going to the petrol station and paying 4 times the amount of the extra electricity bill, every week. So basically, if you pay 30 cents per kilowatt hour, which is the standard A1 tariff, that normal driving in a Model 3 or a Y. Oh, sorry, Jared, you just got to. Sorry. If you just use a standard A1 tariff, you will pay approximately a quarter of the price of petrol or diesel equivalent. So yes, when you buy an EV, your power bill metaphorically goes through the roof, but it goes through the roof at a quarter of the rate that you would have been paying for petrol or diesel every other day. So that's the main thing to look into. The only other real practical tariff that's available is the one that has an EV add-on is I think it's called the midday or the daytime saver, and that has a very attractive. Yeah, so that has a very attractive headline daytime rate, which I think is between. Is it 7 a.m. or is it 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.? Maybe it's 7 a.m. to 3.
No, it's 9 to 3.
Oh, thanks, Richard. So it's 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and that's 8 cents per kilowatt hour. And then it's got a shoulder period from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. perhaps.
3 p.m. to 9 p.m.
No, the shoulder. 9 p.m. to
9 a.m. Yeah.
9 a.m. and that's 22 cents, something like that ish. But the sting in the tail, if you do not have battery storage, is between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. All year round. That tariff is in excess of 50 cents per kilowatt hour. In fact, it's right there. Thanks, Ken. So that's the problem, is if you don't have energy storage, what your house will consume, because it just has to, when you get home, you just have to turn your aircon on a hot summer's night, or even on a cold winter's evening, you've got to turn the heater on, and you've got to cook. And if you've done what many people are doing, and in fact, what we've heard that I think it's Sydney City Council has now mandated, and I think Melbourne's done a similar thing, is that they are actually banning gas for new houses, new installations. So if you've gone all electric, you've got an electric induction presumably cooktop, then you're effectively getting penalised between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. And you would probably have to be a very heavy EV user who can charge during the daytime to offset that imbalance. It's a little bit like fixed interest rates for banks. Usually the house wins. So, and sorry, the thing I missed out on is you can actually add an EV tariff to the daytime saver, and I think it reduces it by another 5 cents per kilowatt hour between 11. I can't read that because it's decimal. 11 from memory. 11 p.m. to 4
p.m.
a.m.
to 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. You get
6
a
a.m. Thanks, Ken.
18.4 cent rate, and then it falls back to the normal off peak from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Fantastic.
So it's basically the same as the midday saver, but it adds a middle of the night cheap bit that you're supposed to use to charge your car in.
But again, the stressful thing here is if you do not have battery storage, I think, but I haven't done the exact numbers, but I think what'll happen is you'll either pay a fair bit more, or what you'll do is you'll actually end up impinging on your own lifestyle, because you're sort of consciously being aware of from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. Oh, I shouldn't do the dishwashing. I shouldn't do something else, and
use my cooktop.
Yeah, well, that's right. Maybe I should cook early, or do I stress about, do I use a microwave instead of the normal oven, or
Sure.
The thing is, you start being ruled by a matter of just a few cents or a few dollars, and that's not the main game. You're buying an EV. Well, actually, these days, you should be buying an EV because that is the obvious choice on all metrics. It's a great looking car, great performing car. It's cheap to run. It costs almost nothing to maintain. There are certain tax benefits, fringe benefits, and all that sort of stuff. But even ignoring all of that, it's an awesome thing to have. And you don't want to feel that it's impinging on or causing you to make decisions that impinge on your life. A classic case in point is, I unfortunately came from, my first Tesla was a Model X that had free unlimited lifetime supercharging. And that was great, for the first 4 years of that ownership. There were no superchargers in Perth, so that was kind of useless. But, I'd find myself, diligently going to Carronite when it first opened and charging there for free because I could. But then, it kind of affects your life, because you go, well, I'm going to do a 20-minute trip up there and a 20-minute trip back. And, is it actually worth the effort? And when I went on a road trip once, I thought, I'm just going to go to the next supercharger because it's a great experience. Yes, it costs 60 cents a kilowatt hour, but so what? It's still half the price of petrol. And we're all happy in the old petrol days and diesel days to just slam in 80 or $100 worth of money that would just get literally burnt up in smoke, in the next week. So if EVs, it's a different experience. So yeah, I know you got the power bill shock, but what you've lacked and you've forgotten about already is the petrol and diesel bill shock.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Absolutely.
I think it does depend on your own situation though, because we both commute to work, so our cars are at home. So that's when we really crank the amps into them and get them charged. But even then, with our first one, we lived in a rental for 3 years, and it was a really small townhouse in Freo. So, we just got efficient electric appliances. And then, we did just set like the washing machine and the dishwasher to come on at 9 o'clock. So, we made it kind of work for us. I guess now with a much bigger house and with everything electric, because then of course we had a gas oven and cooktop and gas heating. Yeah, that worked for us at the time. So if that's your situation, but yeah, now that everything's electric, we've got battery storage as well to insulate us from that evening shock, as Harold said. So I guess it just depends what works for you.
Thanks, Richard. So it's Morgan, by the way, from we spoke about Mr. Hamstra.
Oh yes, of course. Sorry,
Yeah.
I know who you are now. and
So yes,
another one of the Roy Hill contingent getting into electric vehicles. There are lots in the car parks now.
There are indeed. So we do have a gas cooktop, gas heating in the house, and we do have solar. So and I'll be honest, I actually have already switched to the EV plan, which is the 8 cents between 9 and 3 p.m. I do work from home a couple of days a week, so I've been using that to help offset that. So I charge during that period. So the first 2 months, I just went. You can guess. I guess I can say reckless and just charged anytime. I wasn't mindful of anything. I wanted to see how that affected the power bill. And now that I've seen that, I'm being more kind of cautious. Like you said, Harold, it does offset at the gas station. So we're not spending the dollars there. We're spending it on the power bill. I guess for me, probably why I noticed it more is because I've come off other vehicles which come with fuel cards. So I don't actually see the money come out. Where this time I've seen the money come out. So that's why it probably added to the shock. But I can actually get that reimbursed anyway. So that's fine.
Don't forget servicing costs as well.
Hey, Harold, your backdrop's fallen down. Oh, that's better.
Oopsie. Oh,
Oopsie.
oh, I've just dismantled the fourth wall. Oh no. Thanks, Jared. I'll just have to try and get a bit closer. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, like I said, good on you for taking that tariff.
There is a new tariff coming out, by the way, Harold. Synergy just released. It's called the Super Saver Neighbours Program, and all you require is a 20-metre extension lead. You can pretty well use it during the day when your neighbours at work. You just tap off their house between 9 and 4:30, and you can get free electricity all day long. It's a super program, I reckon. I think it's a great idea. A good incentive.
Absolutely.
Builds a lot of good relationships with your neighbours.
Since it's early in the program, and I know that most people on YouTube sneakily only watch the first part of the juicy parts of the program, and actually they miss out on the best bits towards the end. But anyway, one thing I want to say is a big shout out, and I'll just go look at my notes, to a Dr. Andrew Melville Smith. Now, not many people will know who that gentleman is, but he is the man that runs the Whyalla Veterinary Clinic, and he single-handedly installed a tritium RTM75 in Whyalla. And again, it's all privately funded. He did it through his own funds and at great expense. He actually originally wanted a 350 kilowatt charger, but I forget what the power company in South Australia is called, but they and the council, both of them effectively said no. And he still had to pay for a new transformer for his near his clinic. And he basically has single-handedly done that which the RAA are singularly incapable of doing. And that's actually bringing fast DC charging to Whyalla. And when he contacted the RAA, and obviously, some idiot from Perth was compelled that if someone built it, they would come, and thus he came. The RAA said, "Oh, look, I don't know why you're doing that, because we're going to install a 7 kilowatt charger, and surely that would be enough for Whyalla." Chuck, I don't know if you want to chime in here and perhaps discuss.
You mean rip on RAA?
if that's what's required, if that's what's honestly, like, I'd just like you to be honest and give us your honest opinion.
Well, what RAA is doing, some of their sites, Chem Power units, 150 kilowatts, similar to what WA is doing, and those sites are great. I think a lot of them might only be one unit with two cables rather than four cables, as most of yours will have. But still, if all the sites were like that, that'd be good. But no, RAA has decided that their fast charging network will be what seems like 50% of them will be 7 kilowatt AC chargers, which is okay if you're just thinking about around Adelaide suburbs and shopping centres, that's fine. But there are sites on the Nullarbor and between Port Augusta and Alice Springs which are going to have 7 kilowatt chargers. So all I can say is you better schedule your overnight stops for those sites.
Well, a classic example is that, let me just spotlight myself. Oh, okay. I plugged in to the RAA charger at Harndorf, and that's totally fine because I'm here overnight. In fact, we're here for a couple of days. I've been here for at least 2.5 hours, and it's not very well focused, but come on.
There it is.
I've got 126 Ks and I'm at 32 amps single phase doing 65 kilometers an hour, and I'm in no danger. I've got another 5 hours and 35 minutes to go. So apologies for anyone that gets there and I haven't unplugged when I'm finished, because it'll be after 2 a.m. before I finish. And that is perfectly fine for an overnight charge, which is like a destination charger. Literally, you're at the destination, and that's quite convenient. But I did actually tweet out earlier, imagine if that was at the Nullarbor Roadhouse, which I think the RAA is going to fit a 7 kilowatt charger. Bearing in mind on their PDF document that they released with all the locations, they had 3 columns. The first column was 7 kilowatts titled fast. The second one was 150 kilowatts titled, is that rapid, Chuck? I think it
might have used rapid and ultra rapid.
And ultra rapid, yes. Now, dear RAA, please do not think that 7 kilowatts, that takes, I think my car at Port Augusta, I arrived with 17%, and I'd set the slider naughtily these days to 90%, and that was going to take 8 hours and 25 minutes to gain to gain about 70%, 73%. 8.5 hours. Now imagine if I had driven from Mundrabilla across the Nullarbor eastwards to Nullarbor Roadhouse and basically consumed and arrived at 17%. And say if I'd arrived there sort of, let's say, a bit after breakfast, mid-morning at Nullarbor Roadhouse on an RAA charger, I would not be able to leave until after dinner. So what the RAA is saying is it's okay for a tourist either from Western Australia bringing economic benefit to South Australia and the eastern states, or vice versa. The RAA thinks it's okay that someone should drive for 4 hours and charge for 8.5 hours, and then rinse and repeat that.
There's a fundamental problem here, Harold. A lot of the politicians don't understand the difference between destination charging and road trip charging. It was just like when I was on the radio and Mike McGowan, and I said there was no charges between Geraldton and Townsville. Mike McGowan said, "Oh, but there is one up in Broome." I'm like, "Yeah, but that's a destination charger." So, by chargers, I meant DC chargers or road chargers. It's a bit like putting in a petrol station and making the hose so as small as a straw and putting petrol in, 1 drop at a time, and saying, "Look, we've put a great petrol station here in the middle of the Nullarbor. You can put in 100 litres in 24 hours." what's the problem? It's just, yeah, it's frustrating, but obviously whoever is behind this at the RIA does not own an EV or has never driven one, long distance. It's just get some advice. Just pick up the phone and speak to someone that actually has owned an EV for a little while. Speak to speak to Tokwa, speak to all the other, there's plenty of other clubs out there. Speak to someone who's got a bit of experience and get a little bit of input before you spend taxpayers' money. Or not, they are paying. I think it's 50% funded by the taxpayer, is it not, Chuck?
Yes, it is. And for example, here's a classic case even of, I guess, what you would call a destination charger, which is in Whyalla. Sorry, I keep saying Whyalla. It's actually Port Augusta. You'll see, it's a bit hard to see because someone's put their car in front of it, but there are actually 4 ChargeMate outlets. They are all 7 kilowatt RAA chargers, but there are only 2 parking bays. So, I think it was Richard Blackston posed the question. I don't understand this site at all. There are 4 chargers, but only 2 parking spaces. How do you use all the spots for overnight charging? And, perhaps what it was the government subsidy probably called for 4 chargers without further stipulating that 4 EVs could actually simultaneously use them. I mean, that's the old, yes, Prime Minister sort of
it's some bureaucrat ticking a box. Yes, we've put in 4 chargers.
Yeah, but we've got a vehicle organisation, a road organisation, who should be the leader in the field.
Exactly.
They should be advising, and they haven't got a clue. And it's typical of a lot of the organisations these days. They are useless, they're bureaucratic, rude, and not doing their job.
Yeah, spot on.
And they're not actually advocating for the world's fastest growing segment of the automotive market, which is EVs.
With 750 coming into Perth at the moment.
749 to be precise. And
yeah, exactly.
And, Tokwa should rightly be proud that I think there were something like 512,000 page views of that tweet. And it made it in The Driven and in Teslarati and others. And, people like James Stevenson liked it. And I think, we should all like it because that's a record. That's about 50% more than the previous record of approximately 500 cars in one shipment.
That's pretty cool.
Well, these organisations have just got to ask Tokwa or similar bodies, as you say, Peter, to get information. But RAC should be leading the field, as is all these organisations, NRMA, RAA. They've got to get their game together because they're certainly far from the truth at the moment.
Oh, look, yeah. RAC were fairly ahead of the game. Don't forget they put in the RAC electric highway back, what was that, 7-8 years ago now?
At least,
yes. 24, I think it's 14.
14, 15, yeah, they put the circuit controls in.
Yeah, right. So,
and that was ahead of that. Well, that was the world's first. In fact, that was circuit controls' first installation, I believe, and it was the world's first electric highway. And the interval was something like 70 kilometres maximum. In fact, many were 40 kilometres apart because the only cars around were the Nissan Leaf and the very early Model S's, Tesla Model S's, and some IMEVs.
But they got out of the gate, 9 years ago with a great electric highway, and then have done nothing since. They've just sat on their laurels. Whoever was responsible for that at the time should be congratulated, but whoever has put an end to the program or hasn't kept it going should be shot.
Yeah, indeed. And I think one of the problems was they actually gifted it to the councils, and that ended up becoming a poison chalice because they had very low usage because most Teslas could just leapfrog several stations. And of course, as we know, it only takes 10 seconds to create about $3,000 worth of damage where you swing each plug like a cat on its lead and smash it into the ground, as we've seen at Margaret River and other places. And you know, it had, and actually in Mandurah too, they actually had CCTV facing that station, and in spite of that, you know, people like Alex would still come in and beat up the unit. And
but he's got therapy since. All right.
no, it wasn't Alex. It wasn't Alex. It was Alex's doppelganger.
Well,
But yeah, so there you go. Anyway, alrighty. So we got any before Charles and I have a love fest on our impending meeting across the Tasman. No, it's not the Tasman. It's the
What's
other
that?
one. I mean,
Bass.
sorry, it's the Bass.
Across the Bass.
It's Bass's Strait.
So there was a question early on about realistic Model Y standard range. Does anyone want to talk to that? What people think the actual range of a Model Y is?
Well, once again, it depends on how you drive it.
And where you drive it.
Yeah, if you drive it like you stole it, you're not going to get anywhere near as much as if you let your little old granny drive it. But where you drive it.
Put some marks in the sand. So suburban driving and driving at 110 on the highway. What's your range?
Between 300 and 500.
Well, say that again, Pete. Sorry, you broke up then. So say that one more time, please.
Between 300 and 500 kilometres. So on a 18-degree day, the other day I drove about 2.5 hours with the car in city traffic. And yeah, it was averaging about 119 watt hours per kilometre, which translates to, about 500 kilometres on that 60 kilowatt hour battery. So you can get 500 kilometres in the city. But yeah, at 110 kilometres an hour, they will be closer to 300 kilometres. And, you know, obviously if it's cold, you'll get less range if you're heading into the wind or if you're displacing water because it's raining, or if you're on a really rough road, you're losing a lot of energy to noise and vibrations, you'll get less. But if you stick to between 300 and 500, 99% of your trips will fall between that range.
Absolutely. And I think probably 75% would fall between 350 and 450, to be honest. Yeah. So I think the real range is a bit less than that. It's more like 350 minimum. Like, Pete, you had a bad day coming in from your lap through Merredin. I mean, but you had a stonking, it was almost stormy conditions and you know, gale winds and you know, teeming rain, and I think you were going to get about 300 k's, but that you call that absolute worst case. And I think 500, look, around town, taking it easy, you can sort of get that on occasion.
Yeah, and I've been averaging 147, 148 for the last 16,000 kilometres. So that's an average of 400 and a little bit as an average over that period of time. But as Harold says, 350 to 450, like if I drive up to Perth, I drop it down to about 125 to 130. So you're looking at more like 450. But if you're driving down south at 110 into the wind, you've got to reckon on only 350.
Cool.
And the great thing is with those standard range Model Ys, you can charge your car to 100% all day, every day. So you can always, if you can be bothered plugging it in each evening, which you don't have to, but if you can be bothered, you will leave home with that full potential every morning, which is awesome.
And the car's system is actually very accurate. It takes so many things into account now, including changing weather conditions and changing driving styles. So it will tell you how many kilometres you've got before you'll run out, or how much percentage you'll have left when you get to your destination. And if that starts falling to, you know, below 5% or below 10%, just slow down, and slowing down makes a huge difference at higher speeds. So the difference between going 110 kilometers an hour versus 100 kilometers an hour can be as much as 14% additional range of what's left in your battery. So if your range is saying you've got 100 kilometers left and you slow down from 110 to 100, you'll probably find you've got about 114 kilometers left.
Does
That's
that
right.
work with, sorry to ask the question, because I'm going to try and go across a Nullarbor in October. Does that equate to the same thing as if you were driving into a 10 kilometre an hour headwind?
Yes,
is that 100%
absolutely.
identical?
Yep. So it doesn't really matter. Look, I mean, there's probably a tiny little bit of extra factor of rolling resistance as the speed increases, obviously, because the noise gets a little bit louder. But a major factor is the wind, whether it's no wind, tailwind, or headwind. For example, I was going eastwards across the Nullarbor, and I've got to say there was like about a 20 knot, according to Windy, and it was pretty windy. And that's a great app too. It's the Windy, W-I-N-D-Y app. It's a free app to use, and it'll tell you which way the wind is going across Australia, or anywhere really.
It's the one with the red logo, isn't it? Because there's two Windy apps on the app stores.
Yes, and it's sort of got, it's like two waves or two L's, I think, from memory. It's, sorry, let me just spotlight 2 seconds. It's
sort of like two.
It's that one just there. Sorry about the focus. This is I'm only using my laptop camera because I didn't get anyway, details. It looks like that. So it's still like two sweeps, but it's a little bit unfocused. But anyway,
or in fact the web app is pretty good too.
Oh, cool. There you go.
So it's this logo here that we're looking at.
Yes, that's the one. Yep, that's it, Ken. Yep,
so
awesome.
But you can also just go to windy.com and it works pretty well on the phone as well.
And all it does is it'll give you a heads up as whether you're going to have a good day or a bad day, or whether you should slow down if you're trying to stretch. So look, the great thing is if you're going across the Nullarbor, there are no gaps that need to worry any standard range car. So, I don't know how many people have gone across Nullarbor now in a standard range Model Y, which is Tesla's shortest range car that's available today. And there are no gaps of any concern across Nullarbor, no matter what the wind. It's just a matter of how depleted you get at each location, which just means how long you have to wait to finish charging.
Yeah, sorry. Can I just jump in there?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, sorry. I was the one that posed the question. And that you made comment that the Model Y can get charged to 100% all day, every day.
Standard range, yes.
Standard range. Why is that the case?
Okay, so the standard range Model Y and Model 3 has a LFP, so lithium iron phosphate battery. And you'll notice that when you look at the slider, it just has little tick marks starting at 50% going up to 100%, and that's all it has. There's no other words, no other text. And Tesla actually, I think if you set the charging level to less than 100%, on occasion it'll say something like, Tesla, we recommend that you charge your car to 100% at least once a week, something like that. And what we've had confirmed with Tesla themselves is they are happy to have the car charge at 100% all day, every day. So if you go on holidays, you can plug your car in, which is what you should do with all cars, but you can plug your car in, leave the slider at 100%, and the car's happy. Because it's got the LFP chemistry, and because on the charge slider there's no other text, it's just little tick marks. Now, if you have any other chemistry, which is the long range cars or some of the older Model 3s, standard range ones, they will actually have the words daily and trip. And in fact, I think oh no, I don't have that, sorry, because I think I captured on the wrong car, but it'll have the terms daily and trip. And what somewhat controversially Tesla's done recently, the last couple of weeks, is for those long range cars, they've actually reduced the daily recommended charge level from 90% down to 80%. And that's just a level that's designed to look after your battery so it doesn't degrade too much over time. But getting back to the standard range cars, you can charge them to 100% all day, every day, without limit.
We should also mention there are a couple of other factors as well that impact your range. So obviously elevation is one. So if you're driving uphill, or if you're towing, obviously, or if you've got one of those fuels on top of your roof, wind resistance and how slippery your car is actually has more of an effect on range than the weight in the car. So if you had the option of, putting something light on top of roof racks or something heavy inside the car, if you put something heavy inside the car, you'll get better range than putting something light on top of roof racks. Or leaving your windows open. That really affects your range as well. So you're much better off using the air conditioner. And on cold mornings like we have now, a good tip is to precondition the car before you leave. And that way you're using electricity from the power point to preheat your car or pre-cool your car in summer. It also warms up the battery before you start driving as well, which is quite handy too. But once you're driving, if you want to stay warm, you're actually better off using the seat warmers rather than the actual heater. So and you can the newer cars now have steering wheel warmers as well. So,
but to be honest, with the new cars, so any Tesla that's been bought in the last couple of years, roughly, you've got the heat pump air cons, and they are so efficient. It's, in the old days, even in summer, people used to talk about driving slow and sweaty. Just don't do it. Just leave your aircon on. You're driving for enjoyment, not to punish yourself. And the same in winter. Don't really worry too much about winter. I've been driving across another bore, and it was like, I don't know, 4 degrees or something, and the car was a toasty 22 inside. Didn't really bother the range at all. Just some of us with the older X's and S's, where they used to have, I think it was 11. Ken, was it 11 kilowatts or 9 kilowatts of resistive heating? It was huge.
Yeah, I don't remember, but it was big. Yeah, you could almost watch it use the battery.
Oh yes, yeah. If you were like sort of in start-stop traffic, you could turn a 50k range into a 10k range in just a couple of kilometers in slow traffic. But look, those times are over. The cars are so efficient; they'll scavenge heat or energy from any source at all, including the battery. They'll actually chill the battery down to suck that heat out and put it into the cabin in winter. And they're so efficient that unless you're really stretching, unless you were going far beyond what the car is intended to do. So, if you're driving 500 Ks because you need to or whatever, and your car is normally capable of 400, yes, then you've got to slow down a bit, but don't worry about the aircon. That's the least of your worries. Just slow down a bit.
To prove to yourself what Harold just said, what's great now is the car will tell you, it will give you a breakdown. So it will tell you on your last trip or even during your trip how much is being used for HVAC and how much is being, and it will even tell you whether it's used, X% more than it anticipated on, heating or cooling versus driving, etc. So, yeah, it's quite good.
Absolutely.
And if you have a look at those stats, you'll soon realise that there's no point, trying to drive slow and sweaty, as Harold said, or be shivering or have 3 jumpers on, you'll realise it's just not worth. You're not making much of a difference.
Absolutely. Now, I think James has put up a photo. Can you describe this, James? This car looks a bit busy.
That was my bedroom. I was down in Bunbury doing some training.
Very good. That kind of looks like my car, but
yeah. There's my doona and my fridge in the back of the car.
Have you gone double mattress, James?
Yeah, I want to be extra comfortable, mate.
Yeah, I did that too, but not. I didn't have 2 inflatables. I had.
They're the self-inflated ones. I thought, bugger it, I'll take both.
Yeah, nice.
Very good. Nice. Alrighty. Hey, Chuck, I just sent you my number, so we'll talk tomorrow about plans.
Organising your date now.
Plans.
Can I ask if any... Sorry?
Go, Darren.
Thank you. Sorry for interrupting. Can I ask if anyone's thinking of pulling the trigger in this last week of the sexy knob? That sounds wrong.
The sexy buttons, or is there a new knob?
No,
there's the sexy knob.
That's the one that,
Oh my
God.
The
sexy knob. There is such a thing.
On the sexy knob.
There is.
It's actually quite good.
It does look...
I'm frightened to type it into Google right now, but
it's the
definitely
S3,
not safe for work.
The S3XY knob, and it's on special until the 31st of August, and it goes for $199 US, so 300 Australian, 307 Australian, and including free shipping. Now, I was just wondering if anyone's going to pull the trigger on it, or am I going to be the only one?
You do know, Darren, that it actually sits in your where your center console is, and you've got the door that slides. Oops,
yes.
Sorry.
I do.
So it's like a little fill-in panel.
Yeah, now the downside there is I've already got the extension lead thing that pulls out of there to charge phones. So that might have to go up on Gumtree. But my only reason for doing this, or considering this even, is autopilot, and how the high beams and the windscreen wipers, and fill in the blanks, anyone else?
Yes. So you can do that, with just the sexy buttons, which I think is a little bit cheaper than the sexy knob.
You can buy the Commander on its own as well, Harold. You don't even have to buy it with buttons now.
Oh, really?
Yes, Damo.
Commander on its own, I'm not sure. I think they're 120. I don't know. You'd have to look it up.
Yeah, I'm just going to look that up now. The Commander, and that's it there. That's just the actual dongle that goes into your CAN bus. And
just the dongle and the software, yeah.
Where do you trigger it from, Daniel?
Right. So
the Commander's 130 by itself.
Yeah.
US, that is, and the 2-button pack is 209.
Yeah, and to be honest, I bought a 4-button pack of sexy buttons with the Commander. I've only ever programmed 1 button, and for a while I was using it as the precondition, so you can actually get it to precondition your car if you go into a non-Tesla fast DC charger.
Okay.
Which is kind of useful, although I dare say Tesla will be using there's Eco Movement. There's a company called Eco Movement that actually provides all of Tesla's non-supercharger pin locations and status information in Europe, and that's something that no doubt eventually will come to Australia. So preconditioning your battery will be less important. And in fact, to be honest, if you've got a long-range Model Y, I've personally found the preconditioning for any fast DC charger non-Tesla supercharger that you can find.
Yep.
Sorry, non-supercharger fast DC charger makes no difference that I've found.
The only reason I thought about pulling the trigger on this is I'm sick of the windscreen wipers and the headlights.
Yes, but you can do yes, but as Damo said, you could just get the commander itself, and that does the same function. So the commander, in fact, it is the commander that does that. Yeah. That's actually the brains of the system. The sexy buttons or the sexy knob is just controlling other aspects. So one thing I experimented with was you can press the sexy button once, and it will give you 3 hazard flashes, which in some places uses like a courtesy to trucks who tell you when they're, you can pass or whatever. It's like an acknowledgement. And you can open your fuel door, your charge port door with a sexy button. You could, for instance, stick one onto your Type 2 cable if you're using a non-Tesla HPWC or something that's not a HPWC, and you can just press a sexy button, it'll open your charge port door.
I think I've just realised what Damo was saying with the commander, and that is it's an OBD connector, which means I can reprogram the. So in autopilot, can I reprogram the car not to turn on the wipers?
Oh yes, no, it's a function. It's actually on the. I'll just bring up the.
So the short answer is no, you can't reprogram it, but you can assign a thing to immediately turn them back off again.
Okay.
So yeah, the knob.
Thanks, Ken.
Is a pretty good deal at the moment, but it's pre-order, isn't it? So it's a kind of it'll arrive when it arrives. And
before Christmas.
Yeah, $199, and it includes the new commander, which is the interesting thing is they're obviously getting a new version of the OBD with it as well.
That's what I'm thinking.
So it's a bit of a speculative purchase at this point.
Do I chuck the $200 in the bin and see what happens? Or
but you'll get something, and you'll certainly get an OBD interface that'll be useful and do stuff, and it's not a huge premium over just buying the commander by itself. So obviously the problem is you're just going to have to wait for it,
and it's work related, so that means it's a tax write-off.
Of course, it's business expense.
I thought you'd appreciate that. Okay, yep, I'll do that. Thank you.
Yeah, put that into the tax. I had to buy a sexy knob for work.
It's good you mentioned that, Darren, because Ken actually works at the ATO during the week as an auditor. So you just give me a bit of stuff that he can work on.
Not for a long time have I worked for the ATO, and that was another story for another day over a beer. But anyway,
there's the you got force manual high beam and turn off wipers. That's just a part of it's auto off. Sorry about the focus, but. Should I try it? No, it's not going to work.
No, it's anyway,
it's all right.
So that's what the commander does without any sexy buttons or sexy knobs at all. That's just inherent to the commander. But caveat is the auto off high beams works brilliantly well. It basically fixes it. It fixes the issue that whenever you engage autopilot, auto high beams never comes on ever. The caveat is at the moment, and to be honest, I'm just too lazy to send them videos and all that sort of stuff. But full disclosure, with the auto wipers, what I find is if it's raining and you disengage autopilot, and usually when you'll do that when you're doing things like changing lanes or doing something complicated, and that's when you're at your busiest because you just want to drive. And then what happens is because it's raining and you've disengage autopilot, somehow the car will inject a command that says, is auto wipers on? Oh, no, it's not. And it turns it on. And of course, when auto wipers first comes on, the wipers go at their highest rate, which is when they're the most annoying. And then the only way you can turn them off again is you've got to press the stalk on the left, which I guess is that image, whatever, the left button to manually do a single wipe, even though it is wiping it like crazy. You manually do one wipe, that brings up the menu on your MCU on your screen, and then you hit off. But that always happens when you're busy either going around a corner because you've just disengaged autopilot for that purpose or whatever. So when you're doing city maneuvers, I guess, it's a bit annoying.
Yeah.
But if you're on the highway and it's raining and you keep autopilot engaged the whole time, it's brilliant. It really works well. And that's the killer app. That just kills it. That and stupid auto high beams.
I'm happy to say, just quickly, I'll just jump in.
Thank you.
I don't know why you're still having wiper problems, man, because the last couple of updates has fixed it. So maybe just get a hold of Tesla about that. And I can say my car now, finally, it's taken a long time, but my wipers are under control. The auto high beam's flawless, everything. So my windscreen's fixed, Harold. I'm a happy man.
Yeah.
I can see now.
Same as Damo. I've got the same, no problems.
I've just done the update. When was the update? 0.8 or whatever it is. That was 2 days ago. So it hasn't rained since then.
Yeah, I'd get a hold of Tesla, lodge a ticket, man, before you start going buying stuff, because mine's all awesome now.
Okay, thanks, man.
So you're saying even auto high beams, that the high beams don't come on illegally in a built-up area?
No, it's perfect.
Wow.
Mine are epileptic. I was driving my kids to MMA last night, and my high beams are epileptic in a built-up area with cars coming towards me.
Sorry, they were or weren't?
They are.
Yes. And
on, off.
And by definition, it's illegal. It's a clear definition in a built-up area in Western Australia. It is not permitted to put on high beams for any reason. Full stop. It's not a debate. It's just the fact.
Yeah, but I've had no troubles. If a car pulls out in front of me going in the same direction and it's 150, 200 meters ahead, my auto high beam turned down. It's detected a car that far away. It's got to have reasonable rear lights. If they're
same with mine, Nigel.
Yeah, I've got no trouble. Yeah, my auto headlights do go up and down, up and down, up and down, but they go down when anything that shouldn't go down is there. And it's even picking them up on coming in, like I'm going around a roundabout. As I'm getting 3/4 of the way around the roundabout, it's picked up the headlights coming from the direction and it's dipped them. And I was impressed when it did that.
I'm really impressed with mine as well, Nigel. I can't believe how accurate it is. It's bloody brilliant.
Nigel, is there any
just want to say, sorry, Jared, just want to say there is nothing better than AP1 on the original Model S. It just works flawlessly. I've never had an issue with auto high beams ever. It's like magic. And AP2 on the X, man, that AP1 with Mobileye, they just had it.
You should talk to the guy you bought that Model X from. It's probably faulty.
You got a warranty with
that, a refund?
It's got a secret dongle in there that's just messing with the system.
Wouldn't be surprised. Sorry, Jared. Go for it.
That's right. No worries. You can cut me off anytime.
Well, do you know what? I'm not going to go down that path. Go for it.
No.
Nigel, do you see any Teslas over there in Bali? Just out of curiosity?
Oh, absolutely no.
Oh, okay. Not one.
I have seen some electric motorbikes.
Ah, very good.
But there's no electric cars.
Okay.
Could probably guess why.
Petrol over here is $1.20 to $1.30 a litre.
Yeah.
No, are you going over to the Gillies?
Sorry?
Are you going to the Gili Islands?
No.
While you're there? Because apparently they're full. Yes. Because apparently, the islands are full of electric bikes now. Because it was always no cops, no dogs, and no motorised transport. But because it's all local governed islands, and apparently electric motorbikes kind of caught them off guard, and so they're full of very fast, powerful, quiet bikes now, which hasn't caused any problems whatsoever.
Nigel, keep your eye out for Bluebird taxis while you're in Bali. There's actually a number of electric Bluebird taxis over there.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. I've been using a few Bluebird taxis because the flagful on them is $1.80. No, sorry, 17 cents. 18 cents is the flagful. We took a taxi back to where we're staying, and it cost us $2.50. It's ridiculous cheap. But some of the others rip you off. They went down a one-way street, and I'm going, no. You should have gone the other way. Oh, no, it's busy here. It'll cost you $60. And I said, I'm opening the door and fucking off. Goodbye.
How long are you
I'm glad you put it so. I'm glad you put it so politely, Nigel.
Yeah, he was trying to rip us off. I got a taxi just down the road where he should have gone, and it cost $4.
Yeah, but there's at least 2 electric ones in running around Kuta and Seminyak. So keep your eyes out.
Well, I'm in Kuta at the moment, so I'll go and have a look for them.
And that was January I was there. So there may be more.
Harold, Alex has got a question for you about your journey.
Alex.
Put it in the chat. Well, not yet, he hasn't.
Oh.
Jared wanted to know, how many dim sims did you eat on the way?
No, I didn't actually have any dim sims, but I must admit, I think it was I think it was at the Nullarbor Roadhouse. I had some fried calamari, and oh man, I couldn't. Those breadcrumbs on that squid they were like pressure cooked into oil. It was greasy.
The seafood's always fresh in the middle of the
Nullarbor.
Actually, what I've got to do is I've just got to send an image to my computer, because there's something I can always use if I go to a obscure pub in Perth and they don't give me the beer that I want. It goes a little bit like this. 2 seconds. But no dim sims, I'm afraid. But yes, I did have a couple of. I thought the chili squid or something like that was salt and pepper squid was going to be okay, but they did work out how to inject an awful lot of fat and oil into it. But hey, it's all good,
Sure.
you know.
I actually have a genuine question.
Go, Richard.
Not from me, but from another work colleague who is about to pull the button on a dual motor Model Y. The last thing that he's concerned about is that he's heard that McCarthy's aren't taking on any new vehicle repairs because they were running short of spare door panels until the new year. So his last concern really was, if he gets a dented door or a panel, is he going to be able to get it fixed in a reasonable amount of time in however many, by any one of the however many approved vehicle repair Tesla repair shops are in Perth? Does anyone?
I think there's about 4 or 5 now.
Well, he actually reckoned there were 8, but
oh, okay,
really, okay,
but which I didn't know, but
I definitely know of 4 or 5. So there's McCarthy's, there's the Bowra, there's what's the one in Claremont? There's Renew in Bibra Lake. They're the newest ones. There's M in Malaga, and then there's another one. Yeah, there's 5.
Does anyone know if there's an issue with getting spare panels in for Model Ys, or if there's any known?
I'm pretty sure that Renew in Bibra Lake have actually pre-purchased a whole lot of components, so they've actually got spare parts, and I've even seen doors and big sections of the body ready to go. So if McCarthy doesn't have any till next year, I'd be ringing some of the others. So the other one is J&M Smash Repairs. Bowra.
The one in Bibra Lake. The one in Bibra Lake has spare door panels for Model 3. Definitely.
Okay. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's Renew, and Renew is spelled RENEEW.
Okay. Well, I'll send him this section of this to see everyone's responses. So, has anyone needed any door panels or any panels at all repaired recently that had any sort of delay or issue?
No. No.
Richard, it'll be towards the end of the program because I'm going to go shortly because it's just had a long day and whatever. But yeah, it's about the 1 hour and 5 minute mark. But it'll probably be about 5 minutes from the end of the show. So yeah, just send him that link.
Harold, can I bring something up?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, Dave.
Do you remember a couple of weeks ago I showed you some pictures of my Model 3 Performance that had been rammed by an Aston Martin?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Within a week.
Yeah, I remember that.
Within a week of the incident, Bowra Panel and Paint emailed my insurer, who is Amy, that the car was a write-off.
Wow.
The incident happened on the 21st of July. Amy are still evaluating.
Really?
I contacted Tesla because my fully comprehensive policy said if it's written off within 2 years, they'll replace it. Tesla have an exact Model 3 Performance in stock right now.
Brilliant.
But Amy are still screwing about.
I never liked that.
Amy.
But so I'd have to say,
after the incident, I entered all the claim online because I flew out of Perth the next day.
Yep, you're in Hong Kong. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. 2 weeks afterwards, Amy emailed me and said, "You made a report. Do you wish to change it to a claim?"
Kidding.
I filled the claim in on Amy's website that says, "Was your claim online?" I don't know. The car is 2 years old in December. I don't know if they're trying to delay it until after December.
No, they can't because the incident occurs. The datum of that is the incident, the day it occurs, not the day they get around to finalising something. I guess contrary to their
PDS, they've got to be able to replace it within 90 days.
Well, they can, but the thing is, I think the problem is, unlike the ad that they so like to trot out, in your case, it's unlucky you're with Amy.
Yeah. Yes, very much so.
And it's appalling. Yeah. It's just not good enough. Is it AFCA? No, not AFCA. What's the insurance? There is an insurance ombudsman. You could start rattling their chain, and you should put a formal complaint in.
Yeah.
And so it's just not good enough because Tesla, as you said, Tesla has a car ready to go, and it's a clear-cut case of this car is well and truly written off, and you were literally, by definition, not involved whatsoever, and this just needs to be resolved now.
And you're actually right, Harold. It is actually AFCA that handles insurance complaints. So that's AFCA. Which stands for the Australian Financial Complaints Authority.
Contact him because they carry a bit of clout. So if you rang them, or maybe you should ring Amy and say, "What's their number?" And
well, I rang Amy today while I was in Hong Kong. Amy sent me an email saying, "Please phone us." Every time I've phoned Amy, I've been on hold for a minimum of 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll go straight to the ombudsman.
Yeah, I'm not going to phone Amy from Hong Kong to be on hold for 45 minutes.
No.
Dave, I've just put the link to AFCA complaints in the chat.
Yeah, okay, I'll have a look.
Okay, so Christian has very patiently had his hand up. Christian, go.
I'll just go really quickly. 2 comments. I think there was something about range in the beginning, a talk, and like the charging. So I have my Model 3 long range for now exactly a year, and it was never charged 100%. But on last weekend, we drove out to the Villeneuve, and it's looking pretty dire out there. That's a 3-phase one. Anyways, so it's good that I did it. And on Tesla Made, I actually checked it. So that actually rebalanced some cells, and looks like I got about 10 kilometers more range out of it. So I reckon once a year, no problem at all. And the second thing that I have, there was just a comment, is a question for you guys. As an employee, you can have a novated lease to have a car and pay basically with your pre-tax dollars. And I have a friend of mine who's interested in electric cars, but is still a bit skittish about it. And he's self-employed. He's like, how does it actually work for a self-employed person? Is anyone there that can give a comment on that?
Yep. So as a self-employed, so if you've got a business, you're still subject to the fringe benefits tax exemption. So as long as the car that you buy does not have any luxury car tax attached to it, so that currently is almost any variant of a standard or long range. No, it's 89,000. So it's the luxury car tax threshold is $89,000. That's the dutiable value, which is the
89,332.
Which is the value that's the base price plus GST, including GST, but no other on costs, so no stamp duty. Or actually, if you look at configuring a car on Tesla's website, as long as when you see the actual details of the breakdown of all the items, as long as there's not one single dollar of luxury car tax, then that car qualifies for, firstly, fringe benefits tax exemption for businesses, even if it's your own business, and also for a 100% day one depreciation. So what that means is, as a business, particularly if it's your own business, you get to effectively get a 100% deduction on its value day one. Now, obviously, when you go to sell a car secondhand some years later, then you'll get whatever that money is, that will be deemed as pure profit because your cost base is zero.
Yeah.
But you get the tax benefit in this financial year, not in, over many financial years. So it's very compelling. And I think the numbers on even a novated lease, the comparison is something like, a Model Y is a similar out-of-pocket expense as something like a Mazda 3. It's hugely compelling.
No, actually, Harold, it actually works out about $100 a month cheaper than even something like a Ford Everest, which is a little bit cheaper than a Model Y, but pretty much similar.
Oh yes, but what I mean is, if you've got a, I think it was a Mazda, like a $40,000 ICE car is dearer to novate that lease than a Model Y.
Yeah. So as a business, you can also do a novated lease. Is that correct? Like as a business?
No, it's not. It's not novated. No, it's no longer novated. A business can simply just borrow money from the bank. It doesn't have to be a lease. It can just be a business loan, and buy the car itself, and depreciate it 100% at day one, and get that tax deduction for the business. And also, you still have to account for the private use, because the fringe benefits tax is zero rated, so there is no cost, but it has to be, what do you call it? It's reportable. So you've got to calculate it and report the fringe benefit, because it does affect things like family tax benefit part A and B, and some other government benefits, but they're very minor, as opposed to the 48 cents in the dollar penalty that normally you have with fringe benefits tax. Because the idea was employers used to offer fringe benefits like free meals, free this, free that, free car, whatever, instead of income, because if you're on a higher tax bracket, that becomes very valuable. So the government decided that they would rate fringe benefits tax at the highest marginal rate plus the Medicare levy, so that there was zero incentive for a company to offer a fringe benefit on the side in lieu of income.
Right.
But with an EV, that has a dutiable value of less than 89,300 and whatever dollars, that's exempt, and that's a real stimulus for EVs, and it's a huge stimulus.
It really is, and I'm hopeful they consider that, because it is someone from that region there. we were the only ones rocking up in a Tesla, and I was like, what's a Tesla doing on a farm? Okay, mind you, I had it on the 10 amp plug for a long time, but we did it, and there was plan B to go to the I guess there was a faster plug in town, but it's still pretty sad, sort of, towards the inroads, towards the wheat belt. It'll be nice to see some other options at some point pop up too.
Absolutely.
Harold, can I share a slide to show Christian on the novated lease comparison?
Well, yeah, I hope you don't break my resolution.
Okay.
Can you put it in the chat, and then I can bring it up, because that way it won't wreck. Because what happens is if you've got an iPad and your resolution is higher than mine,
that's why I thought I'd ask before doing it.
and then it will it breaks it because
James,
Zoom is defective.
James, is that photo behind you? Is that some sort of new hotel that you haven't showed Pete yet? Looks like a new hotel of some sort. I can't hear you, James. Sorry, you're muted.
Yeah, that's where I sleep.
Oh, you're the same hotel as Pete stays at?
Yeah, deluxe mattress, mate. I got a fridge in mine as well.
Oh, wow. Is that an inland black hanging off the side of it? One of those dangerous snakes that Russell Coit over there?
Yep.
Looks very nice.
Oh, here we go. I'll just bring this up. Full screen. There we go.
There it is. So you can see the Ford Everest Sport there. This is an older slide. This is from, would have been earlier this year. So maybe, I don't know, February, March this year. It's based on a average $80,000 income for someone in WA who drives on average 15,000 kilometres a year, which is roughly the average. And you can see the monthly repayments there for the Model Y are $1,071, and the Ford Everest is $1,649. So, sorry, I had it the other way around. And CX-5 Mazda is actually $100 more expensive than a Model Y on a monthly basis.
That's remarkable. That's really cool. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, but with the Ford Everest, you get the fun pack with the fridge and the blow-up balloon and stuff as well. Just take into account that with the Model Y, you just get out of here, kind of. You got your keys now.
Does anyone know of a novated leasing company that doesn't fleece you on the interest? Obscure all of the interest payments and the fees.
No, they all. The interest is always 2, 3, 4%.
Yeah, I went down the rabbit hole and I still never got there.
But it still works out a lot better than if you were just to normal loan. Yeah. So
it just kind of surprised me there hasn't been some sort of competition in the market, in the novated leasing market yet. But
yeah, because there's a couple of guys
with novated leases, you can. Sorry.
I was just going to let everyone know that there's a couple of guys that they actually just do electric cars, and a couple of them own them and that sort of stuff. So they're trying to bring transparency to it all. I think the carbon leasing or something like that.
Carbon.
Carbon, that's it.
Very transparent with their costs and expensive, and they break it down when they give it.
Yes, that's cool. They're pretty good.
Okay.
John? You can always request to take a lot of those insurances out if you don't deem them necessary for you. It's not necessary to be included in the package. So when you ask for the breakdown, if you don't want the gap insurance and you don't want whatever other insurance, you can actually request it to be taken out. So it just depends on your leasing mob. Definitely shop around.
And I definitely recommend not including the fuel card. You probably don't need that one.
Yeah, exactly.
And the problem is they're sort of a little bit like duty-free shops. Yes, you'll get a cheaper deal, but they are making a bit of money. And like others have said, a lot of it's obscured, which is unfortunate. It'd be great if the banks just came out with a novated lease light, which is just for businesses to be able to get the financing on behalf of the employee, and for there just to be a simple interest cost, whatever that is, you don't need to talk about insurance because that could be separated out as an additional payment, because, you know, particularly in WA, we have vastly cheaper insurance, at least for the first 1 or 2 years, than anywhere else in Australia. You know,
there is a benefit in including things like insurance and charging or what have you, because you do get to pay for it out of pre-tax dollars through the no fees.
How did you insure your performance with?
Sorry, say that again, Jared.
Company did you insure your performance with?
RAC initially, but what happens, unfortunately, I'm sad to report, is it seems that for every year that you renew your insurance, the agreed value goes down and the premium goes up.
Yeah,
and that's quite disappointing, to say the least. So
yeah, I've just had to renew my rear-wheel drive Model Y with RAC, and the premium's gone from 820 to 1,020, but the agreed value dropped from 91 to 88.5, which I thought that was pretty reasonable. You lose your first year's discount and so on. So I thought, well, that's all right. Next year, I'm going to take a very big, close look at it and start shopping around, because I reckon it'll change dramatically.
I did that actually. Just to I compared 3 other insurances. One of it was a UE, UE, and then one was Roland. There's a new one and stuff like this, and another one, and they were all vastly more expensive than RAC with the same sort of like for like.
The one that will get close, and it's usually by the time you're in your 3rd or your 4th year, is budget. Okay. Yeah, Budget Direct. Once you've had your car for 3 or 4 years, or start.
They will insure performances, Pete. Budget Direct.
They insure performances, yes.
They insure performances.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Wouldn't touch them. Yeah. Why is that? Is that because their Russian office don't understand what performance is?
No, because idiots like you drive mad, Jared.
Oh, that's not. The police have never caught me driving mad ever.
No, because you drive too fast for them to catch you.
They've never caught me ever. I've never been convicted of anything.
Convicted is a different word. I'll tell you what I did catch, which I think was really cool, and look out for anyone in Perth that doesn't do the same, is one of these. And you go, oh, so what? It's a bit of lime. At the Nullarbor Roadhouse in a Corona. Now, if you can get that at the Nullarbor in the middle of nowhere, then look out any pub in Perth that says, oh, sorry, mate, we haven't got lime. Do you want lemon with that? Or we got nothing.
The fact that
just not good enough.
3 years old and being frozen, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything at all. It still came from that Nullarbor.
It still tasted good. It still tasted good.
But the beer was warm.
Actually, it wasn't too bad, to be honest. No, it wasn't too bad.
And how much was it on the Nullarbor Roadhouse? Did you have enough money, or just take a novated lease to pay for it?
I just put down 2 credit cards, bang, bang, just one for the deposit, one for the final payment.
Has anyone had the experience of being, I believe the term is cold, by a diesel truck going past them and spilling their guts out all over their Tesla?
Coal rolling. Yeah, coal rolled.
Yeah. No. I had my first experience last night, and I thought, wow, I've seen it on Tesla YouTube things. That's what that means. Why on earth they did it, I have no clue. It had a P plater in the back, but
Well, there's a clue.
Why do they do that?
Yeah.
Tommy,
and the irony is, you've got HEPA grade filters, so it's like, okay.
Exactly. Tommy, you've got your hand up.
Yeah. So while we're on the same topic about the government rebate and the FAT, I just wanted to know the WA rebate of 3,500. Do you know how many has been claimed, or is there any left or anything like that? Last time I heard it just like back in May. That's something that one of the BYD these salesmen told me that it's around 6,000. So I'm wondering if anyone know about that.
We don't really know. It's probably about half that are gone. And the thing is, you've got 749 Teslas. Not all of them qualify. So obviously, the performance-wise, performance 3s, long range-wise with anything but standard range-wise with anything but except for one additional option. So for example, if it's the standard white Model Y, you can have an option such as different wheels or different interior, but you can't have two options. So some of those 749 cars, won't qualify or don't qualify. And there are a lot of BYDs coming in by the hundreds. So you just got to pick your poison. Probably by the end of the year it'll maybe still be okay, but early next year it'll probably run out. And I don't know that the government's necessarily going to give us a lot of warning, if any. In fact, they'll probably just quietly say, oh, it's ended after you've bought your car, because of course you've got to apply for it after you've purchased your car. So you don't really...
On the website, Harold, they say that they will let the public know, or it will become public, but not until it starts to run out. So
yeah,
towards the end, you'll find out, which hopefully won't be too late by then. But
well, and if you've got exponential growth in the cars coming in, the time they estimate for that to happen could be quite short, if you know what I mean. Like if they're not careful.
So I'm getting it next week, so hopefully I can still make the claim.
Oh no, Tommy, you'll be fine. No, you'll be totally. I personally think by the end of this year you'll probably still be pretty much okay. Literally towards right up to the end of the year, because there are a lot of cars that don't qualify. If it's more than $70,000 by 50 cents, you do not qualify. So, you'll be absolutely fine, Tommy. No problems at all. Peter G, you've got your hand up.
Yes, I do. Just starting the video.
Yes.
I've got a question. As we all know, with the USB, the plugs in our latest cars have got no data on them. Has anyone replaced that data transmission module, and have they had success? No?
I think not. Apologies. Maybe you should be the pioneer, Peter, and have a sus.
So Peter, I don't know if you know about a Slack, WA Slack, Peter, Tesla Slack. There's actually a couple guys that have done that. I think there's at least 3 people there. So if you're interested in that, maybe I can send you a link to that. But I follow that, and some of them have. Yeah, it's a bit of a. You have to take quite a bit off, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that the hand show? Is that the hand show module, or is that a different one?
There's a couple around, I think, isn't there? That I've seen. There's one from Ocean something or other, and there's one from Ali.
Oh, Abstract Ocean.
AliExpress. Yeah, I think you're right. Yep. Yeah. It doesn't look that bad to install. It's just that you have to run, say, quite a long cable all the way across from a right-hand side drive, apparently. But it's doable. Yeah, it is doable. So no one's had any troubles with plugging USB devices into their Teslas in and using them?
Probably no one has tried, to be honest.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Maybe Richard Cooper. He would know.
I'll wait till he comes on there next week or the week after and see.
So I wasn't listening 100% to the last conversation, but if you're trying to plug in a
memory key
controller
or a console,
you can mainly the PS5 controllers, game controllers. You can in the latest version of the software, you can just connect Bluetooth.
Yeah, I did see that.
You don't need to put a USB dongle in. You can just use the Bluetooth connection in the car.
Yeah, I did see that come through.
I heard today the Xbox controllers will work as well in pairing mode.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Pete Petrosky actually offers that with his car services with his Airbnb product. So if you book Pete's Airbnb product, you get that Xbox controller that goes with it. Isn't that right, Pete? No, you've scrapped that? Oh, okay.
No idea what you're talking about.
Tommy, you've got your hand up again.
Yeah, sorry, I just got another question. So with the window tinting, so I've got a guy who I've been using for the last few cars, and then he's been great. And then I asked him like what sort of tint goes around, and then there has been some issue with the windows cracking, and then mainly blame to the tinting. And he sort of like make a comment that he hasn't seen it, but he know about that. And then it is because of the laminates or something like that is put in between the windows, and then it doesn't work well with the one. There's a heat for it, and then I'm wondering what do you guys think of it? Do you guys have a window tinting on your cars, and then any sort of issues around that?
Well, I've got window tint on my front. I've got a Model Y, so the driver's side window and the front passenger window, neither of them were tinted. So I just had tint put onto those just to match the rear windows, basically. And there's been zero issues at all. The only cracking I've had of glass is my windscreen when it got hit by a rock, but that was normal and untinted. So no, there's no issue, Tommy, with tinting at all.
Okay.
And the only two windows you would do on a Model Y is just the driver's front window and the passenger front window, because everything else is tinted.
The only issues that are known are when people have tried to tint the glass roof. And I'm not sure if that still is an issue in the current cars, but going back 2, 3, 4 years ago, people would put on a really heavy tint on the glass roof. The problem is the tint actually goes on the underside of the glass roof, not on the outside. And so what happens is the heat sort of bounces back from the inside. So the glass gets really, really hot. And a few people in the US have had their glass roofs crack as a result, and warranty wouldn't cover it because, it would have cracked because of the tint. So, so just with tinting the glass roof, you just got to be careful.
And don't bother, because it's not going to achieve anything that you think it's going to, because whenever the cars are parked, the glass roof gets red hot. It's just physics. It's just what it does. And every car's glass roof does the same. But as soon as you start driving, the roof actually very quickly returns to the temperature of the ambient air outside. And, that's just what it does.
I'm not planning to.
Tommy, I've had my car for 2 months. Sorry. I've had my car for 2 months. I asked the Toggle group for the same advice, and just to qualify my own thinking, I went to Tesla as well, and Tesla said if you tint your roof and it cracks, it's not covered under warranty.
Yeah. I'm not going to be planning to tint it on the roof. It's just at the side windows.
I only did the two front for cosmetic work.
Yeah, you could actually just get a blue tarp and put that over the window, and that will stop any sort of heat coming through. That's a possibility of doing that. So,
but if you were to take a black Model 3 with black seats, tinting on the roof, and the Tesla shade, or even a thicker, less translucent sunshade, and put it on the roof, and have a white Tesla with white seats, the white Tesla with white seats, with nothing, with no tinting, with no shade, and have them both sit in the sun, the white Model 3 will be much cooler than the black Model 3 with all the extra bits. So the actual colour of the seats and the paintwork makes the biggest difference.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
The offset to that, Pete, is you use a lot more baby wipes with the white to keep it clean. compared to the black?
No,
actually, Jared,
I'd like to see a spreadsheet on that, Pete. Next
week.
Well,
in summer, the black actually gets. It's really easy to mark because in summer people often wear sunscreen, and you put your sunscreened elbow down on the black center console, and you've got white marks everywhere. And the sunscreen's not easy to get out. So in summer, the black actually, is harder to clean than the white even.
Yeah.
Well, I'm running an experiment. By the end of this year, my car would have done 50,000 Ks with white seats that have never been cleaned in the driver's side. And they're now getting a little bit blue. And that'll be an experiment to do at 50,000 Ks, is to see how dirty it really is and how easy it is to clean with, I was proposing microfiber cloth with just distilled water, perhaps a microfiber cloth with Windex, and maybe a baby wipe in 3 sections.
Hey, Harold, put another method into the mix, which, those magic...
eraser.
Magic erasers. Yeah, those with distilled water rather than just normal water.
Yep.
That seems to work the best for me.
Yeah, right. Well, I'll do 4 sections.
It doesn't scratch, Pete? Does it scratch?
No, it's quite fine. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't had any scratches. The ironic thing, though, is on one of the cars, I've got white seats with white seat covers. And the white seat covers, ironically, are a real pain in the ass to clean. They're actually really hard to clean. But the actual white leather or the vegan leather, the original is actually much easier to clean than the actual seat covers. So, yeah.
But the magic eraser, despite its rough surface, doesn't scratch.
It's not rough. It's just like a sponge.
Yeah, okay. It's like foam sponge.
Yeah. It's not abrasive at all. Yeah.
Harold, will you be in Hobart next week with Chuck or?
Yes, I'm getting on the Spirit of Tassie on Saturday night.
Can you take photos? I'd love to know what the cabins are like. Just interested.
Yes, well, for $1,200 for the car and the cabin, I'll definitely be taking photos, Jared, for sure.
I'm just interested to know what the cabins are like, just if they're really nice or not.
You must be in one of the luxury ones if it's $1,200.
Yes, I'm in the deluxe thing, which is at the front. Apparently, that's at the front, so you get the midnight view, like the inky darkness of the front of the vessel.
Unlimited dip sims or something like that on the boat.
When you said at the front, I'm thinking the whole King of the World thing. But okay, wrong movie.
I just got to remember that apparently you only get one opportunity to leave. Like once you park your car, you've got to take your stuff, and there is zero turning back. You do not ever get to go back to your car for any reason, regardless.
And a reminder, you need to turn your alarm off, which I found you can only do when you disable Sentry Mode as well.
I've never turned my alarm on or off.
That's something no one ever does apart from on the ferry.
I didn't know we could turn it off.
Yeah. It's in security. It's in the security features in the car itself, but I think you can only change the setting while you're in park.
Yep.
So find it beforehand so you're not on there panicking trying to enable this setting that you can't find.
Awesome.
How long do you get to get out of the car? Like they say, get out in 2 minutes, or
basically they don't rush you out, but basically once you're out of the parking deck, that's it until you leave the next morning.
Cool.
Yeah. So I've got to make sure to bring my hairdryer. If I forget my hairdryer, that's it.
Oh, yes. But you're in the VIP suite, so they'll have an extra hairdryer if you're right now.
I hope so.
The cabins, although they're different ferries now, but when I went, the cabins were brilliant. Very good.
They ran on the coal back in those days, Pete. When you last time, the horse and the coal, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
That's right. Hey, I'm going to, even though I'm half an hour behind Chuck, I've had a long day and it's been rather arduous, so I'm going to quit very shortly. So for everyone in YouTube land, we're going to do a wrap up, but everyone actually live, please feel free to stay and to rock on. What I'll basically do is we'll do an outro. Pete and I'll do the outro, and then I'll just stop recording. and then I'll hand over host control to Pete, who can, everyone's free to rock on. So let me just set this up so I can do it properly. Oh, it's up there. Pete, how would you, as if I didn't already know, take out an awesome show like this one?
First of all, thank you for still hosting Ask Us Anything, even while being on the road. Massive effort.
Absolute pleasure, Pete. It's
nice work. As always, stay safe, stay sustainable, and stay ahead of the curve.
And the best way to do that is buy a Tesla, join TOCWA, and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy.
We are the world. We are the people.
Have a wonderful week, everyone. And I look forward to seeing you on the next On the Road edition of TOCWA's Ask Us Anything. Good night, everyone.
Have fun.
Night, Harold.